Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. Obviously, the legal negotiating period opened where players can verbally agree to terms. That opened on Monday, March 11th. So, literally yesterday. And tomorrow, Wednesday, March 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern, players can officially put pen to paper, ink the deal officially, if you will. They can officially sign it. It's rare, but some guys do kind of have like plot twists where they go to different teams even though they're verbally committed. It happened with JD McKissick, the whole Bills thing. It happened with Anthony Barr, is a pretty notable one from a handful from 4 or 5 years ago now, 4 years ago now, I believe. But anyway, I wanted to jump on here to kind of just update us with free agency. Which, since this is the Bills podcast, the Bills have made multiple moves. There's some restructures. They've lost some players. They've signed some players. I've seen some released players last week have now found new homes. But I am excited to bring on a special guest to talk Packers with me. Packers usually don't spend money in free agency, but they surprisingly have this year already, which is exciting. Now, listen, obviously, stuff is going to break during this episode by the time you're watching this, but I'm not checking my phone right now because I'm focused on recording this episode. So, as of 7 p.m., it is 7 p.m. Eastern time here on the East Coast on Tuesday, March 12th. So anything after that, I will cover in my next episode, which I assume will be Thursday or Friday in just a few days. So anyway, let's get into the special guest. We're going to discuss Packers free agency and everything Packers. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so we are here with my little brother Grayson. He's a huge Green Bay Packers fan, so I just wanted to kind of get him to jump on here today before I continue with my Bills news and segment and the usual scheduled program here to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Grayson, I know this is kind of the first year you're paying attention to free agency in general, correct?
Yes.
Now, for the Packers, they've kind of, before we get into any specific moves, they've kind of changed their philosophy a bit, if you will. Usually they don't spend in free agency. Usually they don't like spending money. They're usually built on veterans and draft picks here and there, such as Jordan Love, Jada Reed, and all those young weapons they got. But they spent. So do you want to get into the moves they made?
So, they did re-sign Keyshawn Nixon, which he's really good. So I think that was a smart move to do that. Obviously, we did lose.
Hold on, let's one move at a time. We'll go one at a time and both give our things. So you mentioned Keyshawn Nixon. He's the best returner, punt and kick returner, all pro punt and kick returner, respectively, in the NFL. He's also gotten better in his slot reps. He can play slot corner where he's speedy, rangy. He can cover less space where he covers. He really can't cover bigger tight end, but smaller slot receivers he can cover, but he's mainly a returner. So I actually wanted him as a target for the Bills, me personally, to back up Taron Jones without Saran Neal, who we caught last week in that mass exodus, end of an era, if you will. We need a backup for Taron Johnson. So I wanted him to be / nickel backup to Taron Johnson. But you guys got him back, so that's good. Next, you did. This is the big ticket one. Before we get to the two players you guys lost, this is the big ticket one. Running back Josh Jacobs. Now, I fully thought he was going to leave the Raiders, but I wasn't considering Packers. I was considering teams like Ravens, Texans. I think Eagles have been a pretty good fit. Cowboys, some big, needy team with. Well, the Packers didn't have like a ton of cap space, not the most in the world, but they got the job done. And they signed Josh Jacobs. Unfortunately, that meant they were going to cut Aaron Jones because obviously you can't have that. Both those guys taking that amount of volume. I don't think they can coexist with each other. They're two really high-end running backs. I would say they're both the same talent level. I think Jones has more receiving upside out of the backfield. Aaron Jones did go to the Minnesota Vikings, right? It's an AFC North rival. I'll let you chime in here. What was your feeling? I know you cut Aaron Jones, longtime staple. It's tough and sad to see him go to NFC North division rival in the Vikings, Minnesota Vikings, excuse me. But what did you think of getting a big ticket running back and Josh Jacobs, giving him 4 years, $48 million, 12 years per year or 12 million per year on average. That is a high run for a running back, but we'll have to see how it turns out.
I think cutting Aaron Jones, bringing Josh Jacobs. Well, Aaron Jones was on the Packers for a long
His whole
time.
career, yeah, since 2006, since he was drafted in 2017 at Utah. But go ahead.
But they gotta also test other running backs. So like getting Josh Jacobs is good, and cutting Aaron Jones. I mean, you don't want to pay two high-end running backs,
especially with how the running back market is.
Yeah, a lot of money because you need more money for like players and things like that.
Right. They'll need more money to replace a guy, perfect segue here, like Darnell Savage, who you lost at the safety position. I know. Now, Darnell Savage wasn't the biggest tackler, wasn't the biggest guy in the world. It wasn't the most physical tackler, but he was the prototypical safety in today's game. As long as you can keep what's in front of you and be that true center fielder of safety, you'll be a high-end safety. I won't say he's high-end, but again, just like Keyshawn Nixon, but I wanted Darnell Savage even more for the Bills because him and Taylor Rapp would be a really dynamic duo. Taylor Rapp, that physical player, but struggles in coverage. Darnell Savage, not excellent coverage, but very, very great in coverage. And you saw that against the 49ers where he had, 2 interceptions? Against the Cowboys, he almost had a pick six. And I think one of those against the 49ers was indeed a pick six. So I really respect his coverage ability, but going to the Jaguars in a 3-year deal, I don't know the money yet, or I just forgot it in the craziness of today and yesterday when it broke with free agency. But I know you love Darnell and Darnell Savage.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was probably one of our best defensive players, if not, well, I would say
I know he was
Jair
like
might be the best defensive player.
He was probably your favorite, like not the best, but the one you like loved the most.
Well, my favorite was Jair, but he was really good too. Just like you said, interceptions in the 49ers and the Cowboys game.
One of them being pick six, I believe.
Yeah. And when Packers beat the Cowboys and almost beat the 49ers.
They should have, yeah. They outplayed them, but
Darnell Savage didn't just stand there and do nothing. He actually played to his best because he knows that they can advance to the NFC Championship and have a shot at the Super Bowl.
Right, like I said, Darnell Savage is the biggest guy. He's not the most physical tackler, never was, coming out of Maryland as a first-round pick. But he cashes in with the Jaguars. Again, don't know the specific details, or sorry, I forgot. But he's a really great guy in coverage. Moving on. So what have we covered so far? So they signed Josh Jacobs. They re-signed Keyshawn Nixon. They lose Darnell Savage. Next, you lost defensive back. He could play corner and safety, probably best at safety. Jonathan Owens. He wasn't really playing safety. Your starting safeties were really like over there were Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage. Your starting corners were like Jair Alexander, Carrington Valentine, guys like that. But as that third safety, Jonathan Owens is a really nice physical tackler, but you lose that special teams element. He was a really great on kick and punt coverage units and just covering kicks in general. Really heralded special teamer, albeit he was only on the Packers for 1 year, but you're losing that special teams element with him going to another division rival, the Bears. So you got Aaron Jones going to a division rival in the Vikings, and you got former Packer as well now, Jonathan Owens, going into another division rival in the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and I also want to point something out. On the 49ers game, if Jair was on the field, he was hurt, so he was benched, right?
Was he? No, he played. He didn't make much of an impact, but he played.
Oh, because I was like, if he did better, we could have had a better shot at beating them because he can intercept the ball. He has good coverage and a lot of other things that he can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now before we go, I want to what are your now realistically, before moving on from free agency, before you get out of here, what are your realistic expectations for the Packers this year? Well, I know they're a young team. Jordan Love, I mean Josh Jacobs now, Jaden Reed, all those young weapons. What are your expectations realistically?
So I have a prediction. I think the wide receivers will just do amazing this year. They've already proven that they're pretty good.
Oh, I forgot about
at
Christian
offense.
Watson, but he's has trouble staying in the field with hamstring issues.
Well, he is probably actually their best wide receiver.
Yeah, he just needs to stay healthy. But go ahead. What were you saying?
I think the record will be a solid 11-6 or 12-5.
Ooh, that's better than solid. That's winning the NFC North.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be that. They have lots of weapons they can use. Musgrave and Tucker Kraft are getting really good.
I'm seeing 10 to 11 wins, or hovering around there.
Yeah,
12 max maybe.
Yeah, probably 11-6. Just like the Bills, they usually get 11 to 12 wins. They'll probably just be like the Bills record.
Oh, I forgot about this. I believe they saved 10.5 around there, 10 million or so in cap space by making a post-June first cut. I didn't tell you this before free agency started. Hours 4 yesterday, they cut linebacker Devondre Campbell. So they have Quay Walker still at linebacker. They got to find another one now. But yeah, Devondre Campbell, longtime Packer, broke out a few years ago. They cut him.
Was he?
He was Quay Walker's running mate.
There for his whole career?
No, I believe he came from the Cardinals, but that's significant. So in comes Josh Jacobs and Keyshawn Nixon resigned. Out goes defensive back Jonathan. Oh, just to recap, defensive back Jonathan Owens. Unfortunately, safety Darnell Savage to the Jaguars, and then cutting running back Aaron Jones to the Vikings. Anyways, Grayson, thanks for hopping on today. And maybe we'll get you back over the summer as the season gets closer to talk Packers as you're kind of evolving your football knowledge more and more and paying attention to free agency and contracts and whatnot. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that Packers segment. That was fun with my little brother Grayson. He's getting to know the Packers more and more. He's getting to know football more and more. This is the first year he's really paying attention to free agency and wants to know what's going on and stuff. But anyway, I have a lot of Bills news to break. We have a couple restructures. We have multiple re-signings. We have multiple guys that went other places from last year's team and that were cut last week, as we know. So let's just get started. I jotted down some notes as the order as it happens. So we got a lot here. You can find my instant reaction, and not just the Bills, but I've been going crazy on Twitter over at personally my Twitter at @Weingartner13. My instant reaction to NFL news and whatnot. So, anyways, Bills and tight end Dawson Knox agreed to reworked contract that lessens his $14.4 million cap hit this year. Now, it's not exactly clear how much cap space this clears in 2024 cap space right now, but it lessens his $14.4 million cap hit. Listen, I don't love Dawson Knox like I used to, but I like Dawson Knox. He only had 130 something yards this year and a touchdown in that one touchdown game against the Dolphins in week 18. But he's more the blocking type, Kincaid's more the receiving type. I've said before, I do not like, this might be kind of controversial because this might be going against the norm, if you will, across people's differing opinions. I don't like the 2 tight end, 12 personnel stuff because I feel like it limits the looks that Shakir gets in our offense. I don't know if there's enough looks for Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, James Cook, Dawson Knox, and now Dalton Kincaid, and assuming a round 1 wide receiver in the mix. So I've said it before. I think Knox is overpaid at 14 million years we see here, but luckily that's being reduced just for this year. And I don't know. Yeah. Bills give left tackle Dion Dawkins, this is the big one, 3-year, $60.5 million extension, $20.16 million AAV. Now, if we're talking about the top tackles in the league, we're talking about Christian Darrisaw of the Vikings, Trent Williams of the 49ers, although he had a really bad Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Penny Sewell of the Lions, Rashawn Slater, if he can stay healthy, of the Chargers. I mean, that's the caliber of guys we're talking about here. I think Deion Dawkins, yeah, he's not better, but I think he at least has to be considered on that level. So $20.16 million AAV. If you're not on social media, good job for you for not getting freaked out. But he posted, like, he said himself, I'm getting released by the Bills. It was real Buffalo. See you later. Or with the deuces or whatever, with the peace sign, with his hands. I freaked out. Plain and simple. I freaked out, had a heart attack, whatever you want to say. And then a half hour later, extensions out. He said, y'all are crying. I'm not going anywhere. Buffalo's my home forever. Ooh, you're real funny, Deion, but that wasn't really funny. So, but yeah, this is top tackle money, and he deserves it. And he's now the fourth highest paid offensive tackle in the league. So I'm really glad we got him locked down. Bills Reese in it clears cap space this year. Now the next extension I'm looking for is slot corner Taron Johnson. I think he's right up there with the best slot corners in the league. With him, Trent McDuffie, and Kenny Moore. Yes, not every team has a slot corner, but for a guy Taron Johnson's size at 5'10", he's surprising. Like, he's not the most leg in the world, but he's surprisingly really physical for a guy his size. Next, Bills are re-signing defensive back Cam Lewis to a 2-year, $4 million deal, $2 million AAV, so $2 million per year over 2 years. So 2 year, $4 million, $2 million per year. That's I say defensive back because he is literally trained and can play literally every spot in the secondary, whether it's outside corner, slot corner to back up Taron Johnson, free safety, strong safety, or just safety in general, because they're kind of getting meshed together as kind of the modern game here in the 21st century, really since 2010, if you will. But I really like Cam Lewis. If he's brought back, now that doesn't scream starter money to me. $2 million per year over 2 years, again, $4 million total. That doesn't scream starter money to me. But if it is, then like the starting duo of Taylor Rapp and Cam Lewis, I'll be okay with that. I like Cam Lewis more than Taylor Rapp. I'm going to be honest with you. But Taylor Rapp did get starter money, so he's probably a locked-in starter right now. I think Cam Lewis should get a shot to be the starter, but I don't know if they should just hand it to him. I'm really looking for guys to kind of step up in free agency here, and the Bills to kind of step up and sign one, rather, I should say. I don't know if that's really a high ceiling starting safety duo with your stars at safety being Taylor Rapp and Cam Lewis, but it's a nice insurance policy if you have to go the route, and it's a nice floor. But I love what Cam does to his team. He's an ace special teamer, ace gunner, ace kicking punt coverage, and with losing Saran Neal and Tyler Medikevich probably not coming back at linebacker for special teams purposes, then it's nice to know we have an ace special teamer coming back who is also evolving and playing more and more in the defense, especially this past year in 2023 season. In 2023. So yeah, next, this is a big one. Bills are another re-signing. Bills are re-signing defensive end AJ Epinesa to a 2-year, $12 million deal. Now the specifics, furthermore, he can earn an additional $4.05 million per year if he hits playtime and sack incentives. I don't know what the official number of sacks he has to get out yet, but he is guaranteed $6.56 million at signing. This is an AAV of 25 of $6 million. That's what I thought he was worth. I mean, I thought he was going to get overpaid and get like $10 million a year, like 3 years, $30 million total. So $10 million a year from a team like the Bears per se, because Eric Washington's there, or the Commanders per se. But they did overpay a few contracts already, like Dorrance Armstrong and stuff. But then they got a good one in Frankie Louvu. Tyler Biadasz overpaid to at center. Whatever. I'm getting off topic. But in my opinion, AJ Epenesa's value was $5 to $7 million per year. We got him for $6 million. That 2-year deal for a guy that's 25 years old is kind of I don't want to say disappointing, but it is kind of I'm kind of confused. Like, why did he only sign a 2-year deal? Usually, guys at 25 sign 3 to 4 years if they're elite, 5 years, which AJ Epinesa isn't, but at least 3 or 4 years, right? Well, no, he said he wants to be able to come back to the negotiating table and hit the market again at only 27 years old. It's going to be crazy that he's going to be going not potentially, he is going to be going on to his 3rd contract in the league at only 27 years old. It's a former 2nd-round pick out of Iowa. So that's really impressive. I did note that I do want more defensive end depth because right now your starters are presumably Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa. I'm not penciling in Von Miller as a starter. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Like, the ghost of Von Miller. I don't know what to expect from him, even though he did take the guarantees out of his contract and did rework it, restructure it, whatever you want to call it. And then Kingsley Jonathan. Come on. He's a 5th or 6th defensive end at most weeks, healthy scratch, inactive. Now, this might be a hot take, but I don't believe, in my personal opinion at least, that AJ Epinesa is a full-time starter game wrecker off the edge. I think he can rotate and split snaps to someone, and I don't know if that rotating and splitting snaps to someone is Von Miller. I'll bring up a few names at the end of the show, at the end of this episode, at the end of this podcast, where I will bring up to highlight some defensive end depth. But here are the cap hits by year for Epinesa. I mean, this is like nothing compared to other edge guys across the league. 2024, his cap hit this season, next season, $4 million. 2025, $6 million. 2026, which is a void year, $2 million. If you don't know what that means, whether they're on the team or not, you have to pay for them like they are on the team, but they're really not. Even though Leonard Floyd, like, for example, I'll get into the specifics of this in a minute, but later on, I should say rather, but he signed with the 49ers yesterday. So, again, a void year. We're paying Leonard Floyd on our books for this year. So in 2026, AJ Epinesa will be on our books in $2 million. It's a void year, so whether he's on the team or not, we pay him $2 million outright. But I really like this deal. Next, the big move that we all knew was coming. It became a little later than we thought. Usually Brandon Beane does it before free agency every year, then EVA, if you will. Bills restructuring contract of quarterback Josh Allen, converting much of his 2024 compensation into a signing bonus, creating $16.7 million in 2024 cap space. This is important. Allen's updated 2024 cap charge is now $30.356 million. That's a lot, but it was going to be like near $40 million, if not more, I believe. So this is interesting. We cleared $16.7 million in space. We could have cleared around $23 million in space if Brandon Beane wanted to restructure all the dollars, if you wanted to pull every lever possible with this. But I think reworking the deals of Dawson Knox and restructure, if you want to say it, of Dawson Knox and Von Miller allowed him not to kind of keep pushing money down the road here and not restructuring every single dollar of Josh's contract. But Josh knew this was coming. We do this every year. I'm glad we get this 16.7 in space. And remember, post June 1st. So on June 2nd, we're magically going to get 10.5 million in space from cutting Trey White. He's free to sign anywhere once tomorrow hits, but we get that. We, meaning the Bills, don't get that space until June 2nd. He's on our books till then. Next, Bills are re-signing defense. This happened at like 2:30 in the morning. I don't know why, but my body wake myself up. Weird sleep schedule this week with the whole free agency thing. But Bills re-signed defensive tackle Daquan Jones to 2-year, $16 million deal, and he gets $10.5 million guaranteed. That's an AAV of $8 million per year. Phenomenal. I thought his value was $7 and $9 million per year. Right, 10 at the most, but I mean, yes, he's coming off a torn pec. Yes, he didn't play well down the stretch. That's because he was just coming back from injury. But I'm not kidding when I say this. Daquan Jones is one of the very best nose tackles. We don't really run nose tackle in our defense, on our defensive line, our scheme, and whatnot. What am I trying to say? He was one of the best defensive tackles in general in football. I'm not kidding you. He's playing at an all-pro level before he got injured. So now we got our starting defensive line intact. We got Ed Oliver at 3 tech. We got Daquan Jones at 1 tech. We got Greg Rousseau on defense on one side, AJ Epinesa on defense on the other side, and then Von Miller and Kingsley Jonathan. But I want better depth than that. I just wanted some defensive tackle and defensive depth, and honestly, defensive line depth in general. Lastly, this kind of came just recently. Bills are signing linebacker. So I don't have like the money. I only have the length. Bills signing linebacker Nicholas Morrow to 1-year deal. Now listen, I'm assuming this has a lot of implications. I did not have this on my bingo card, if you will, during this free agency period. I just didn't consider like linebacker. Like, yes, maybe you needed like fourth, fifth, and maybe even in a case or two, some cases, sixth linebacker to compete with Balin Spector over there. But I thought Dorian Williams was for sure, no questions asked, going to be the third linebacker, LB3, if you will, on this team next year in 2024. Well, now he has competition for that in Nicholas Morrow, because Nicholas Morrow can play weak side linebacker, so the Matt Milano role, or middle linebacker because he wore the green dot for the Eagles in all 12 games he started last year, and middle linebacker, so the Terrell Bernard role as it relates to the Bills. I think you asked Dorian Williams to be your backup to Matt Milano, weak side linebacker, and you asked Nicholas Morrow to be your backup to Terrell Bernard at middle linebacker. But I think those two will battle for our LB3 between Dorian Williams and Nicholas Morrow. And the LB3 is becoming really, really significant, not just for the NFL in general, yeah, but for the Bills specifically. How do you tie it back I want to tie it back to the Bills? Because the Bills never run three linebackers. And people are saying, well, if you put a third linebacker on the field, you'll have to take Taron Johnson off. And do you really want to do that as arguably the best slot corner / nickel corner in the league? Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Since teams are going more heavy 12 personnel or going 13 personnel with starting 2 running backs or starting 2 tight ends, you have that third linebacker come in, whether it is Dorian Williams or now apparently Nicholas Morrow. And you don't take Taron Johnson off. He can be maybe a slot safety, a split field safety, if you will. And maybe you take, let's just in this scenario, Cam Lewis or Taylor Rapp off the field. I think that's more likely than taking Taron Johnson off the field. Whoever wins LB3 is LB3 between Morrow and Williams. I want it to be Dorian Williams, but we'll see. And then whoever is that fourth linebacker between the two of them, I think they won't really get to play, but I think they'll be key in special teams. And then that LB5 assumably is Balin Spector right now. And I think he'll be the next Tyler Matakevich. He sticks around this team for years, maybe not as long as Matakevich, but for now, he sticks around in this team for years because of his ace special teams ability. So I don't expect Tyler Matakevich to come back. And I think Nicholas Morrow is a direct Tyrell Dotson replacement. You think about it, he can play both spots, weak side and middle linebacker. He can back up both Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. That's what Tyrell Dotson did for so many years. And this year, he actually had to start. And I think he's going to get overpaid by a team. Just have a feeling because of those starts. And Nicholas Morrow has way more athletic upside and way more coverage ability and can play in space. So I really like Nicholas Morrow. So our linebacker unit is probably looking like Tyler Matakevich probably not coming back. Tyrell Dotson, 95% sure not coming back. And then you have Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard as your starters. And then Dorian Williams and Nicholas Morrow and Balin Spector. And then maybe like a sixth guy just for special teams purposes. But look for Balin Spector to be that next Tyler Matakevich, if you will, that sticks around this team because of his special teams acumen. Next, so there's Nicholas Morrow. Now, next category I have is former Bills players signing elsewhere. These guys were free to sign before the negotiating period kicked off on Monday, 12 noon Eastern, In center Mitch Morse did. Center Mitch Morse is signing with the Jaguars on a 2-year, $10.5 million deal. He gets $7 million guaranteed, $5.25 million AAV. They must have really wanted to move on from Mitch Morse, which is surprising to me because they could have reworked this. They could have gotten this deal done with Mitch Morse. They could have done an extension even to have him here for longer. But obviously they saw something. They wanted to move on, and they're going to move Connor McGovern to center and David Edwards presumably starting at left guard. So they could have gotten that deal done if they really wanted to, though. Next, wide receiver Gabe Davis is signing with the Jaguars on a 3-year, $39 million deal, $13 million AAV, so 13 per year. By the way, Mitch Morse got 5.25 per year, but 13 per year for Gabe Davis, 3 years, 39. Overpaid. I said for the Bills, I wasn't willing to go over 10. I said, I've been saying this for months now. I think Gabe is going to get overpaid by someone. They're going to give him 12, 13 a year because of his size. Yeah, size, because he barely uses that size through strength. He's a clunky route runner. He's only a sideline guy, and even that's contested catch situations is iffy because he drops the ball 99% of the time. He had like 3 straight games in December where he had not a single catch. Yeah, he's a great blocker, one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league, but wide receiver is supposed to catch the ball, and apparently also, especially a wide receiver being cast as a wide receiver 2 in a high-flying Bills offense like that. I don't know. I feel like it was time for a split between us and Gabe Davis. So he got overpaid, 13-year. Have the Jaguars deal with that. That's fine. Defensive end Leonard Floyd signing with 49ers on 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million AAV. So $10 million per year. To again reiterate, 2 years, $20 million, 10 per year. He didn't get overpaid in general, but for us, there was no way he got overpaid. Or I'm sorry, he didn't get overpaid in general. For us, there was no way we were going to give him that because we just don't have that kind of money. I don't think there's any contracts where we're giving more than $8 million per year. I think AJ Epinesa at 6 per and Daquan at 8 per. I think Daquan's the highest we're going to go for really anybody, really any position, offense or defense. As much as I want a free agent receiver, I'll bring up a few names at the end of this, but I don't know. So Leonard Floyd going to the 49ers. He had 10.5 sacks for us this past year in 2023 in the 2023 season. And that was the first double-digit sack guy for the Bills since Lorenzo Alexander in 2015. A linebacker, like a true coverage linebacker. So they had him blitzing downhill a lot apparently back then. But I don't know. Leonard Floyd, good for the 49ers. But now this guy, I was expecting this guy to linger around to like May or June at the latest. But running back Nyheim Hines signing with the Browns in a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. 3.5 is kind of dicey for a guy coming off a torn ACL with the whole jet ski thing. I don't know. It's just I don't know how I feel about it. I'm always gonna think, what if when they traded from the Bills used Nyheim Hines more? What if he never got in that jet ski accident, I should say rather, and he was on the team for a whole year? What if we kept him and he had a full training camp for once with the team? His first full training camp with the team. But I look at Nyheim Hines as a more veteran version of James Cook, so I understand why they wanted to move on, kind of duplicate skill sets, if you will. Just I got Nyheim Hines, a more veteran version. And then this one hurts. Safety Jordan Poyer, I don't have the numbers yet because this happened right before I hopped on here to record. Safety Jordan Poyer is signing with the Dolphins on a 1-year deal. Man, I feel like Poyer has had, because he was like saying on his Instagram, posting some videos when he was on vacation, like he doesn't know, implying like he doesn't know if he's ever going to play football again, or retiring, whatnot. I feel like he had one foot out the door ever since he wanted to go to South Florida last year, but he couldn't find a deal, so he came back to Buffalo. And I wouldn't want a guy that has one foot out the door and is thinking about retirement every week and every game and regretting it. So this one hurts Jordan Poyer to the Dolphins. It probably means Deshaun Elliott isn't back for the Dolphins. I would love to just swap safeties. Jordan Poyer from the Bills to the Dolphins, Deshaun Elliott from the Dolphins to the Bills. So, and then AFC East Division rival news. It's always good to check on what the Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins are doing. They've lost some players, they've signed some players, re-signed some players. We'll start with the Dolphins. There's a whole slew of moves here. Dolphins lose safety Brandon Jones to the Broncos. The Broncos starting safety duos now PJ Locke and Brandon Jones. That's decent, I guess. Dolphins lose defensive tackle Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. There is no way the Dolphins are paying him when he got 4 years, 110 million, 27.5 per year. Yeah, no. And now, well, I'll get that in a minute. Dolphins lose linebacker / edge Andrew Van Ginkel and the Vikings. He's a great coverage linebacker, great downhill, great off the edge. I really like the fit for Brian Flores and his defense over there, who blitzes a ton and plays a ton of man coverage with Jonathan Grenard, although I do think Grenard did get a little overpaid. Dolphins also lose guard Robert Hunt to the Panthers. I mean, 5 years, 100 million, 20 per. These guards, this guard market is absolutely booming. I mean, Hunt would be the 7th highest paid tackle right now as it stands at 20 million per year, and he plays guard. And this interior offensive line class, booming. But here's positive news, I guess. Dolphins signed a pair of linebackers, signing Browns linebacker Anthony Walker, and the Dolphins are also signing Seahawks linebacker Jordan Brooks for 3 years, 30 million, so 10 per. That's okay, I guess. I'm assuming the linebacker duo there will be David Long Jr. and Jordan Brooks, and Anthony Walker is a very key third linebacker. And then Dolphins are signing Titans center Aaron Brewer, so that most likely means and I'm 99.9% sure that means Connor Williams is gone at center for them. Dolphins are signing Buccaneers defensive end Shaq Barrett. I really like that for them. And they still honestly could sign Jadeveon Clowney because with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, with torn Achilles for Jalen Phillips and torn ACL for Bradley Chubb, respectively, they're IR/PUP candidates, PUP candidates. So imagine though Jalen Phillips. I don't think they give the Dolphins flowers much and compliment them, but imagine Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and Shaq Barrett all coming off the edge of the quarterback. That's a real good situation. And then Dolphins lose. I forgot what team did he. Oh, defensive tackle Raekwon Davis to the Colts. I didn't write this down because it just happened to. Dolphins lose defensive tackle Raekwon Davis to the Colts. 2-year, $42 million, 7 per. They could have got that done if they wanted to, but their defensive tackle, defensive interior, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be totally revamped. Christian Wilkins out. Raekwon Davis out, who's pretty bad anyway. But all they have is Zach Sealer, which is a nice player, but don't get me wrong. But it's going to be totally revamped. Now onto the Jets. And that's not even mentioning. Yeah, they restructured Jalen Ramsey's contract, so that's good. But that's not even mentioning they cut last week in cap saving moves. They cut Emmanuel Ugba. They cut Xavier Howard. So a lot is changing on that Dolphins defense. And Vic Fangio left for some clashes with Mike McDaniel, reportedly, just apparently, whatever, to the Eagles. And Anthony Weaver was the Ravens defensive line coach? A Ravens defense staff member, I think he was. Yeah. And he comes over as Dolphins defensive coordinator. So a lot changing. Next year, Jets lose defensive end Bryce Huff to Eagles. The Jets were just loaded with riches. That's the one thing the Jets can do right is develop pass rushers. Loaded with riches on that defensive line. Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Bryce Huff, Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson ain't coming back to there. He wants an opportunity somewhere else. He said during the season he's not I'm not a cheerleader. I play football. I'm not a cheerleader because he was getting healthy scratches, like inactives down the stretch there a lot. So Jets lose defense and Bryce Huff to the Eagles. If I was the Eagles, I'd rather have Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, honestly, but I don't think they're going to trade both. They might trade both of them because they're really like the development of Nolan Smith going into year 2 out of Georgia. And their 2 starting defensive ends are Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith. So we'll have to see how Bryce Huff can do with the increased amount of snaps over there. Assuming they trade both Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. Maybe one or if not both. But Jets are signing Ravens guard John Simpson. 9 per. 2 years, $18 million. Kind of a lot for just one good year of football with the Ravens. I don't know. Him and Elijah Vera Tucker could be a really good guard duo. That's the one only good offensive lineman. Mekhi Becton isn't coming back. I don't think Billy Turner is coming back. Joe Tippmann's out of Wisconsin going to year 2 next year. This next season, I should say, rather, is probably going to start at center most likely. So they're going to have him at center and then Elijah Vera Tucker at one guard if he can stay healthy for once, and then John Simpson at the other guard spot. Jets are signing 49ers defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw. If there's any, I kind of tweeted this instantly. If there's any team that can get the revive a former first-round bust career at defensive tackle, it's the Jets. Travis Allen knows how to develop those defensive linemen, those D linemen over there in New York or New Jersey, technically. And then Jets are signing Giants QB Tyrod Taylor. They've given Zach Wilson permission so he could trade. I'm not a fan of Zach Wilson, not a fan of his attitude or his personality. I don't know. And he doesn't have confidence in himself whatsoever, so that doesn't help either. But Tyrod Taylor, their like ceiling is much higher. Like Tyrod Taylor, legitimately, there was a case to be made that he was the best quarterback in the Giants roster last year. Probably went Tyrod, then Tommy Cutlets, right? Then Tommy DeVito, and then Daniel Jones. They're making $40 a year. And then Patriots are signing Patriots moves. They're signing Commanders running backs Antonio Gibson. I don't even know what Antonio Gibson is anymore. Let's just stop experimenting with him. Like, I used to be a fan, but not anymore. Like, I'm out. Like, he is fast and big, so we keep giving him chances. He hasn't hit the hole fast enough. He has terrible vision at the hole. In open field, I should say. Or that he can't catch. He fumbles quite often. So, I don't know. I'm just out. Is he a slot receiver at this point? Is he a running back? Does he still have any juice left? I don't know. Patriots are releasing wide receiver Devontae Parker. Yeah. Big body, contested catch. I think he's just I think he's awful. I'm sorry. Sorry he signed with the Eagles since I put this together. But they have Dallas Goedert, and they just got Saquon Barkley at running back, which is a huge move for them. They're paying him $12 million a year, so they're going to use him a lot. So what? Devontae Parker is the fourth, fifth, maybe even sixth option there at best. So I just hope he's never going to touch the field. And he was dead last in separation every year for the past 4 years, 2020, 21, 22, and most recently 23 out of 132 qualifying receivers for PFF. Dead last in separation rate. He doesn't separate at all. He's slow, robotic. So I guess he does one thing consistently, consistent and being awful, I guess. Patriots are re-signing offensive lineman Michael Onwenu to 3-year, $57 million deal. He gets $38 million guaranteed. That's $19 million AV, so 19 per year. Again, 3-year, 19 per year. No way they're letting Onwenu go. Ideally, he's a guard, but there's a case to be made that his best football ahead of him is at tackle, because he was either their best offensive lineman, whether it was guard or tackle last year. So there was no way they were letting him go. The one competent thing the Patriots can do is re-sign offensive linemen. Patriots are signing Commanders QB Jacoby Brissett. I think it was 1 year, $8 million. That's not backup money. Something more is going on here. Whether they do draft Jaden Daniels or Drake May at 3, depending on who the Commanders take, or I don't think they should trade out. It's either Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or Marvin Anderson Jr. Even if they do draft a rookie quarterback, though, they have Jacoby Brissett start. And I like Jacoby Brissett, but that's not backup money. Something's going on here. I think he's what you would classify this as a bridge quarterback on 1 year, $8 million. And the Patriots are signing Browns linebacker Sione Takitaki. Was he on the team? Was it him or Mac Wilson? I always get the two confused. I think it was Mac Wilson who used to be on the Patriots. I could have sworn Takitaki was on that. It doesn't matter. He's just a depth linebacker. You can't go to war with him, if you will. Next, lastly, before I get out of here, Bills updated free agency needs. I have 1 through 5. I have these ranked, 1 being the most pressing right now, 5 being least pressing out of 5, but obviously 5, all 5 are pretty important. Technically, it's 6 because my 5 is tied. I have like a slash in there. So anyway, 1 wide receiver. I think wide receiver 2 goes to the first round of the draft. But we need a wide receiver 4, 5, and honestly 6. Like Justin Shorter. Let's temper our expectations here, people. I think people are getting way too hyped on Justin Shorter. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, goes to Penn State, disappoints, barely does anything of note, have any production, transfers to Florida for 1 year, and does nothing too. So, wide receiver number 1 need. Next, defensive tackle depth. You got your starting 1 tech in Ed Oliver. Other way around. You got your starting 3 tech in Ed Oliver, Then you got your starting 1 tech in Daquan Jones. Now you just need depth. Next, 3 defensive end depth. And then 4, I want someone other than behind AJ Epinesa, Von Miller. What can you really expect out of him? And Greg Rousseau. And then 4, safety. 5, running back / offensive line depth. And running back, it's not particularly high because James Cook is there, but you need an RB2 and RB3. Please, I'm surprised they haven't done it yet, honestly. And I'm kind of worried, but please bring back Ty Johnson on a fat minimum type deal. 1 year, $1 million, 1.5 maybe, as high as I'll go. He can receive. He's a power back, run between the tackles, run on the outside, elite special teamer. He can return the ball, and we have no returner right now. So, yeah. And then 4 safety. 5 running back / line depth, because our own line depth right now is 5 stars are locked in, but it's Ryan Van DeMark, Jermaine Ifedi, and Tommy Doyle coming off 2 ACLs in a row, in 2 years in a row, I should say rather. So anyway, I have some guys here that I think can be productive and we should target. They're still lingering out there. So at wide receiver, Curtis Samuel, I am a little scared though that he's going to outprice himself for us because Gabe Davis got $13 million a year from the Jags, and Darnell Mooney got $13 million a year from the Falcons. But DJ Chark, I think he can outprice himself as well. Braxton Berrios is that kind of slot guy, that direct backup to Khalil Shakir, but mainly a returner for us because we don't have that now. Josh Reynolds, I would really like. I've come around the idea a lot. Ray McLeod, again, backup to Khalil Shakir, would be kind of like Deontay Hardy caliber signing, but I think has more agility and shiftiness. and he's not coming off a turf toe. It's a return game. And then if you want some low-cost Jalen Guyton, I had Isaiah McKenzie. I got to update this, though, just before I hopped on here. News broke that he signed with the Giants. Go with Dable. I mean, why wouldn't he? It makes sense. And then KJ Osborne, inside out. He's a mainly slot guy, but kind of inside out versatility. So he kind of reminds me of Khalil Shakir a lot. If there's one guy on here I really want, it's probably DJ Chark. But if we're going for a cheaper option, I would probably take a shot on Braxton Berrios. My number 2 need from here is defensive tackle depth. We don't need a starter anymore, so Sheldon Rankins. So here is the guys. Some of these, though, I kind of am considering crossing off. Sheldon Rankins, I think I'm going to cross him off because he's a starter in this league. Austin Johnson would be great depth. Tyler Tart would be great depth. A lot of these guys have gone back to or gone to other teams, I should say. Ale Woods, Sebastian Joseph Day, Derek Nottie, and then that's about it. Not really intriguing, but if there's one guy I would say that I would love, it's probably Sheldon Rankins, but he's probably going to be too expensive, and then you go to like Tyler Tart would be ideal. And then defensive end depth for behind Rousseau and Epinesa. Emmanuel Ogbah from the Giants, I do think he's going to go to the Vikings. Well, no, maybe not. Probably not the Vikings anymore, actually, because they just signed Jonathan Gennard and Andrew Van Ginkel. So I would, but Emmanuel Ogbah, Carl Lawson, Romeo Quara, Anakin Ngakoue, Chase Young, although it sounds like he's taking visits to the Titans and Panthers and Saints, which is surprising. And then Derek Barnett and Dwan Smoot, Marquise Haynes. There's a long list here. Jadeveon Clowney, although it sounds like he could go to the Dolphins. So what I've heard. Jihad Ward, Travis Gibson, Jernard Avery, DJ Wanham, Michael Dana from the Chiefs, James Houston, Bud Dupree, Josh Uche went back to the Patriots, which I'm shocked about. If I've talked about him, he kind of fell out of favor on the Jets. He was behind all those defensive linemen. He's not going back. I want Carl Lawson. That's my number 1 guy here, Carl Lawson. Yeah. And then my number 4 kind of need for us was safety because Taylor Rapp, not much upside there. I really enjoy his tackling ability, how physical he is, but he's reckless a lot of times, and he either injures himself or injures his teammates. So there's a lot of friendly fire there. He's kind of play more in his element, if you will, and under control. Safety Eddie Jackson, Rayshawn Jenkins, Chauncey Gardner or CJ Gardner Johnson, Jordan Whitehead. Picked off Josh Allen 3 times in week 1. If you can't beat him, join him. They didn't beat him, so let's join him. Or no, other way around. If you can't beat the Bills for the division, join them with Whitehead. Jaron Curse, Mike Edwards, Deshaun Gibson. He's older, though. It's like 32. Terrell Edmonds, Deshaun Elliott. And like I said, maybe they swap with Deshaun Elliott going to the Bills and Jordan Poyer going to the Dolphins. Ashton Davis is kind of that more hybrid guy. I don't know if he's a full-time starter, but he's an elite special teamer. Adrian Amos, Julian Blackman, although he might be too high for us. John Johnson, Jordan Fuller, and Cam Curl might be too expensive for us, though. The one guy I want here is CJ Gardner Johnson, but that's too expensive than Jordan Whitehead, but ideally, CJ Gardner Johnson. Number 5, technically 2, RB/offense line depth. Let's go to running backs here. People have talked about Zeke. I don't really want that. People have talked about AJ Dillon. I don't really want that. Mine would be like Gus Edwards would have been nasty in this offense, but he went to the Chargers. Dante Foreman, Kareem Hunt, Jerick McKinnon, and I got across DJ Dallas. He just signed with the Cardinals before I hopped on here as well. So yeah, the guy, because we need a downhill rushing Dante Foreman, like Kareem Hunt and Jerick McKinnon don't really intrigue me. I just had him on here just because I don't know why. Dante Foreman is the one guy that's really left. I'd be like, yes, I don't want Zeke Allen, AJ Dillon like people do. So Dante Foreman, sign me up. 1 year, $3 million, bingo. Down her rushing element. And then 5 had running back / O-line depth. Offensive tackle depth is probably more present. Well, we'll go over it. Offensive tackle depth. Charles Leno, Dwayne Brown, like 39 years old, so probably not. George Fant, Donovan Smith, Cam Fleming, Billy Turner, Kendall Lamb, Chris Hubbard, Josh Jones, Cam Irving, Charlie Heck, and Jake Curhan from the Seahawks. Although they'll probably bring him back because they just lost Damian Lewis. Bring him back, I should say, rather. The one guy I want here is Kendall Lamb. He can be a swing tackle, left or right tackle. It's always great to take players from division rivals as well. you take them away from the Dolphins, and their offensive line is changing. They're probably they're bringing Aaron Brewer at center, so they're going to lose Connor Williams. They re-signed Robert Jones at one guard/tackle spot. I don't know which one, but they lost Robert Hunt, the other guard spot. There's a lot changing on that team. So Kendall Lamb, their best reserve offensive lineman, Isaiah Wynn's also a free agent, but too expensive. So I want Kendall Lamb probably. And then interior offensive line. So guards, we have Dalton Reisner, whatever. Greg Van Roten, who was on the Bills a couple of years ago. Started for the Raiders this past year in 2023 season. 2023, rather. And he was pretty good. Try Turner, irrelevant now, but Michael Dieter, Jack Driscoll, Ben Bredesen from the Giants, Billy Price from the Jets. And then two centers, Brian Allen, Will Clapp. I would center outside Brian Allen right away. He knows Eric Kromer from his Rams days, developed him, it. And they also love to take players from that Super Bowl team. We took Leonard Floyd from that Super Bowl team, Von Miller, all that. I would probably want my number one here is Brian Allen at center, and for guard, probably Greg Van Roten, but I'm not over the moon about it. And then offensive tackle depth, we have. Anyway, I already went over that. So anyway, this was a longer episode because I had that Packers chat with my little brother. He was really excited to do it, so I had him hop on. Maybe we'll see him again. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Let me know how he did. Anyway, yeah. Those are kind of just what's going on right now. I know this is kind of not an all over the place episode, but a more laid back episode just because I wanted to run down everything from restructures, re-signings, other Bills players signing elsewhere, most of them getting overpaid, and then what's going on with our division rivals and the Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins. A lot of transition there, especially with the Dolphins. They're losing quite a lot. So anyways, and then check in on our needs. I'll just go over it quick again. My number one need for the Bills is wide receiver. Number 2, defensive tackle depth. Number 3, defensive end depth. Number 4, safety to parachute them. Number 5, running back, downhill rushing element. So Dante Foreman, please. That's the one guy and one guy only I want. I know. And then slash. So number 5 is running back slash offensive line depth, whether that's tackle or interior center / guard. So anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy free agency. I'll be back Thursday or Friday, but follow the show on Twitter at Ron Slice. But you can follow me on Patreon for any updates as well. If you guys want to support me, enjoy my content, it's $3 a month, patreon.com/RunTheSlice. I have a TikTok. The podcast is a TikTok, I should say. Around Slice on there as well, but my most importantly personal Twitter is AAWanger13. I've been on there like crazy. So bye.